The reason for the general lack of trust in democratic processes usually reflects an imbalance between the legislative, judicial and executive powers and a serious lack of civic participation in those processes. The Regional Forum helped to identify or highlight a series of participatory mechanisms in several countries, including social and economic consultation councils at the national, subnational, local levels, and participatory budgetary processes which produce positive results, more at the local level. Second, improving transparency. The Regional Forum offered a tremendously useful opportunity to review most of the existing machinery for promoting transparency in Latin America. This tends to fall into three categories. One, monitoring of public consumption by means of access roads to transparency, including mechanisms connected with Transparency Council, fiscal responsibility laws, tax reforms, and the achievement of transparency and procurement policies which can be monitored on the internet. Secondly, public and participatory audits and whistleblowing systems that protect the whistleblowers while knowing who they are for the purposes of verification. 3, legislation providing guidance and setting limits for lobbying activities and the establishment of oversight offices in the executive branch of the government. Freedom of the press and the development of education for young people are important in creating a culture of responsibility. Now, building trust by means of better access and provision of services. 1, decentralization and local coordination. The participants highlighted the importance of consolidated, truly federative approaches, including reforms to strengthen the relations between the state and citizens through local authorities as a means of facilitating the provision of services. The establishment of local mechanisms and councils can create a sense of shared responsibility and ownership which goes far beyond party politics. And both the means of increasing incomes and planning expenditures must be decentralized, including a clear division of responsibilities, rights, and duties. Efficiency in the public administration. The participants agreed that client guidance and professionalism are very important, and the following mechanisms were highlighted. Programs on sustainable procedures for money transfers, with planning, establishment of continual assessment by means of transparent audits and public ethics committees, and specific programs to combat bureaucracy, the establishment of public-private partnerships to improve service provision. To sum up, the experience of Latin America reveals a considerable variety of instruments available to put into action a transition from a culture of impunity to a culture of responsibility. The Regional Forum on the Reinvention of Government in Latin America concluded with a strong message of support for the establishment of a virtual civic network for reinvention, which will bring together public and private partners and civil society. So, to give a summary of the summary, one important thing was the topic of corruption in the state, and the topic for civil society and governments and political parties to pool their efforts to for the attainment of joint objectives and also the establishment of transparency. The death sentence for corruption is, in fact, the efforts through transparency to reduce it to a minimum. Those were the true conclusions of the forum in Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Reina. It's now my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Efim Malitikov, Chairman of the Interstate Committee on Knowledge Promotion for the Commonwealth of Independent States, who will brief us about the findings of the regional forum that was held in St. Petersburg for both Eastern Europe and the Commonwealth of Independent States.
Dear Chairman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you of the outcome of the regional forum in St. Petersburg. I try to make my speech maximum shorter. The regional forum on enhancing trust in government through leadership capacity building took place in St. Petersburg, Russia, from 28 to 30 September 2006. It was organized by United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, Division for Public Administration and Development Management, in cooperation with the Interparliamentary Assembly for Commonwealth of Independent States. Underlying questions and challenges. Building critical leadership capacities in the transitional economies is a requirement for enhancing trust between government and civil society and the private sector. Trust in government is easy to lose but hard to regain. Yet, trust in government is crucial for any success in transforming economies of the region through the formation of successful partnership between the government and other social institutions like business and civil societies. Among the measures adopted in support of the transition to market economies are deregulation, liberalization, privatization, and decentralization. The challenge ahead is to ensure key leaders in government, the private sector, and civil society are fully aware of the scope of their new responsibilities in ensuring a smooth transition from centralized command planning model to systems anchored of public-private partnership principles. Recommendations: ethics, integrity and accountability in the public sector, leadership and public trust. The following issues should be considered for creating ethics in the civil service. Training in ethics will reduce the incidence of corruption, but not eliminate it, as it is an issue of awareness within government institutions